In 1933, the Nazi regime created the Pink Triangle to identify and discriminate against homosexual men. After the end of World War II, homophobia was still widespread and prevalent in society throughout the world, until the 1970s, when the gay rights movement started fighting to advocate for the rights of everyone to love whomever they choose. The triangle evolved from a badge of shame to the emblem of a new era, one that is still fought for today. Responsibility for the treatment of queer people grew, and a sense of humanity prevailed, bringing together communities in support of the movement. World War I ended in 1919, and shortly following, the National Socialist German Workers' Party was created, better known as the Nazis. Hitler became Chancellor of Germany in 1933, heading the party. He took fascism to a new level, ruling as dictator. Until 1945, the end of World War II, he had complete control of the country, forcing its people to conform to extreme social and political ideas with the threats of torture, death, and incarceration looming over them. Some of his most prevalent ideas included anti-Semitism, queerphobia, and anti-communism.
Fortunately, after the loss of World War I, nationalism gripped Germany and people wished to pin the blame on anyone but themselves. The large reparations wreaked havoc on the economy and citizens sought out someone to blame. Hitler gave them one, in the form of people who strayed outside the traditional values. This included Jewish people, gays, Romani people, and so many more. These subhumans, as he called them, were discriminated against heavily, leading to the creation of concentration camps. This is where the story of the Pink Triangle really takes off.
But before that arc of the story begins, we need to go back to 1871, when paragraph 175 was created. In summary, it criminalized any and all sexual acts between men. Interestingly, it was not truly enforced, and there was a thriving underground gay culture and community across Germany, especially in cities like Berlin. Until that is, the Nazis took power and ruled with an iron fist, carrying out many arrests, trials, and sentencings for gay men. Soon the severity of their incarcerations was increased, and gays were sent to concentration camps, usually Sachsenhausen, which was built outside Berlin. This is where the Pink Triangle comes in. It was used to identify homosexual prisoners and make it easier to pick them out. Each type of prisoner had a different badge. There was black for antisocials, or lesbians, purple for Jehovah's Witnesses, and brown for Romani people. An estimated 100,000 gay men were imprisoned and several thousand died in the camps. The gay men were killed, worked to death, starved, and experimented on. Even within the camps, the different groups avoided mixing, and the homosexuals were treated as only second to Jewish people, and everyone only ever showed hate towards them. After the war ended, though, the gay men were not released like the other inmates, but were simply transferred to other prisons to finish their sentences under paragraph 175. Paragraph 175 is essentially the law that made homosexuality illegal. At this time in America, queer rights activists came out into the open without even knowing about the treatment of homosexuals in Germany. One of the first gay rights organizations, the Mattachine Foundation, was created, and many others quickly followed. Some of these include One Inc., a gay newspaper, the Daughters of Bilitis, a lesbian association, and more. Perhaps the growth of the queer community was seen as threatening by some, because they saw many setbacks and attacks aimed at shutting it down.
Example is the classification of homosexuality as a mental illness by Dwight D. Eisenhower, followed by his federal ban, but the movement didn't back down and instead made massive progress as time went on. It took small steps at first, like the documentary The Rejected being shown in California, transgender people like Christine Jorgensen gaining fame, gay magazines and newspapers being produced, and much more. One very important event that became a turning point in the gay rights movement was the Stonewall riots, when a gay bar was raided by police. People living nearby rioted in the streets in protest of the actions taken by the police and called for the release of the arrested people. These supporters became many of the first advocates of the queer community and included several trans women, drag kings and queens, and queer youth seeking for liberation from discrimination.
Gay power and we shall overcome became popular slogans, empowering people across the states to take responsibility and incite action. The gay liberation movement was founded in response to the riots as well, and became a massive turning point, pushing forward more than ever. In commemoration of the riots, the very first Pride Parade was organized in 1970 and the first sightings of the Pink Triangle in America. It isn't very clear when word of the hushed-up history made its way across the Atlantic from Germany to the U.S., but when people found out about such blatant homophobia and discrimination, the Pink Triangle quickly became a symbol of the movement, and how the queer community wouldn't be silenced again. In 1971, the first March on Washington took place, with more than 100,000 participants. It was organized in response to the AIDS crisis washing over America, and the very famous Silence Equals Death poster was designed, featuring the Pink Triangle. Over time, the symbol became very prevalent and was used as a type of signal for queer people that wherever it hung, they were safe and welcome there. Rapid progress was made in the years following, with the backhanded "don't ask, don't tell" policy and its repeal, elections of gay officials, and anti-hate crime laws being made. In 2003, homosexuality was officially decriminalized, and in 2015, marriage was fully legalized. Today, the pink triangle is still prevalent in many places, including Holocaust memorials, merchandise, and queer spaces. The triangle has become a symbol of acceptance, equal rights, pride, and community.
Immediately after the end of World War II, gay men interned in concentration camps were not permitted to be released because of the conditions under their orientation under paragraph 175 of the German Criminal Code of the time. The triangle continued to represent oppression and hate in their prisons, and not until 1994 was the law repealed. The homophobia destroyed many lives, caused thousands of deaths, and was a huge hit to the gay community, but in the end it was overcome.
The triangle has created an extensive and morose legacy that should not be overlooked in history. It was a raging symbol of the gay rights movement and captured people's attention and sympathy. It now serves as a reminder of the devastation created by homophobia, yet still empowers pride and equality. A once negative connotation has become very positive, showing how a strong community can flip one of their most tragic losses into their most magnificent victory. The pink triangle will remain a symbol of the justice and acceptance of the LGBTQ+ community far into the future.